Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 29. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Glad you guys are with us on this Monday, this Victory Monday, Dave. And I feel like we should be getting this show with "Oh Canada" or something in honor of Chase Claypool and that heck of a performance in the Steelers' Week 5 win over the Eagles Sunday.
Boy, not often that you get to see one player score 4 touchdowns in a game, and especially a Steelers player. I think, you got to go back to 1968 to Roy Jefferson against the Falcons, and I was born in 1968, so it's been that long since we've seen such an occurrence from a Steelers player. But look, Mapletron, I think, as the fans like to call him, might be a little bit too early for the comparisons to Calvin Johnson. But look, I mean, without a doubt, he was a force in that game, and we'll cover that a lot of what he did, but without a doubt, they really utilized him and really had to, because Deontay Johnson left that game with a back injury kind of early as well too. But even had that not happened, it sounds like Claypool was going to be used quite a bit in the game. And really, look, we talk about 4 touchdowns. Probably should have been 5, if you want to be honest about it. And but we'll get all into that in a little bit. But exciting 4-0 Steelers for the first time since 1979.
Yeah, I know this is a big question to ask at the top of the show, but best performance ever by a Steelers rookie? Is that fair to say with Claypool? And there was a lot of history there. It's up there.
Oh, wow. I'd have to go back in my head. But, I mean, obviously the 4 touchdowns is going to catch your eye.
First ever to do that in Steelers history.
So well, what did we say Roy Jefferson did? What was he?
Well, that wasn't as a rookie.
Oh,
right?
okay.
That
okay.
was just
All
as
right.
a Steeler.
Okay, yeah. I mean, look, the 4 touchdowns is obviously going to stick out the most to you. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll get into some specifics on how he scored those. I don't know how to politely put this. I mean, the 4 touchdowns, yeah. I mean, that performance is going to mostly stick out. But how many big plays did he make? As far, I mean, he did have some good. Some of his better plays in the games were ones that didn't result in touchdowns. Quite
some
honestly,
big third down pickup.
He had a slant there over on the right side that I thought was a good play, and a couple other ones as well too. But it's going to stick out as one of the top all-time rookie performances of all time, and mainly because of the 4 touchdowns that he scored.
Yeah, the list of rookies in NFL history is pretty short with 4 touchdowns in a game. Claypool becomes the 19th player to do that, and it is the list is guys with like Corey Dillon, Joseph Adai, but it's also got some Hall of Famers on that list like Emmitt Smith and Gale Sayers and Jim Brown and Earl Campbell. So Claypool's in rare company, only the 3rd receiver in NFL history for a rookie to score 4 touchdowns in a game, the first since 1979. So rare company Claypool's in, and just one heck of a performance. And they needed it because that game ended up kind of being a shootout.
What was his most impressive touchdown?
Oh, man, that's a good question. Trying to think.
It wasn't the run. It wasn't the play out to the left. I don't I don't think the wide receiver screen out, and it wasn't him beating Nate Jerry.
Yeah, it would be the slant for sure, because that was a great release, and then he steps out of the safety tackle and races the rest of the way. So I think that one's probably the easy best play of the 4.
Right, and I would agree. And look, here's the thing that we continue to see. We continue to see out of him that elements of what he did in college show up on his pro tape. The slant specifically. Was it their one against, was it Duke? Was it the Duke one that he had the quick slant where he used his body from the left side kind of in the slot there for the touchdown. He did a great job on that one off the line in college of getting good separation there. Obviously, he didn't have. Wasn't as pressing, I don't think, on the slant on the touchdown, on Sunday against the Eagles there. But I mean, we saw elements of that. We saw obviously at Notre Dame him used a little bit in the wide receivers screen game with blockers out front. And really, to quite honestly, I think I tried to go through my mind real quick of which game it was. I couldn't find it off the top of my head. It's somewhere on Steelers Depot in some of them contextualizations. He had a touchdown kind of similar to the one where he beat Nate Gary it was a mismatch as well too with him on a linebacker, and those kind of mismatches you're just not going to win there. So once again we see elements of what he did in college show up on his pro tape, and I know Kevin Colbert's probably sky high this morning.
Yeah, and the rest of the league is jealous of the ability just to churn out receivers the way Colbert and company do in Pittsburgh. Let's stack the deck here for this game, Dave. Again, Steelers win this one, 38-29, move to 4-0 on the season. Let's start though with the inactive list, how things began Sunday afternoon, and again, Trey Edmonds was elevated, which was no surprise. He was active in getting the hat, I should say, in place of Derek Watt, but on the inactive list, Derek Watt, Marcus Allen, Derwin Gray, Josh Dobbs, Carlos Davis, and Zach Gentry. So UG3 was active for the first time, played on special teams, did not play on defense. So not a surprising inactive list here, and obviously Watt, Allen occupying it because of injury.
Right, no surprise there, and the Steelers showed their hand a little bit early. Not that it's a big deal, but I mean, technically, I think you can wait until Sunday morning to get those elevations done. Maybe they're going to start doing us a favor and start anytime they need to do these, do them on late Saturday, for games on Sunday. But you and I had talked about what was likely to happen there, and it happened, and the inactive list was just as predicted from that point forward there. So no surprises there. Now you hope to see Derek Watt, and to a lesser degree, Marcus Allen. Obviously, you want both those guys healthy and back in action, but Watt obviously probably being the more priority than a guy like Marcus Allen, because they could fill in. Marcus Allen didn't play any defensive snaps there, whereas Watt, you want to try to get him on the field. I tell you one thing that stuck out though, going back through that tape, was the fact that I thought Trey Edmonds represented himself fairly well. Obviously didn't play a lot of snaps there, but he was in on a couple of those touchdowns blocking out on the edge.
Yeah, how many snaps did he play? I saw you posted the snap counts this morning. It was a handful. Do we have the exact number?
Yeah, it wasn't, but about, hold on a minute, I'll get them for
6.
you. Yeah, 6 or something like that. It wasn't many.
And a couple of them were touchdowns. The
right.
Claypool on the 4x1 bunch, and I think another one? Was there another one?
The rushing, James Conner rushing one. I know he was in on that short 1-yard run over on the left side as well, too, kind of line up, I think, as a tight end on that play.
Yeah, so not a bad day in the office for Trey Edmonds. And then from an injury report standpoint, do have a couple things of note to talk about. Deontay Johnson left that game early with a back injury. He was on the sideline for most of the game, being watched by trainer John Norwig, but just never got the clearance to come back in, was eventually ruled out later in the game. David DeCastro with an abdomen injury was fairly quickly ruled out, so that's certainly worth monitoring. And Marquise Pouncey with a foot late in that game did not finish, and Tomlin said he's being evaluated.
Yeah, we'll see. It sounded like to hear Tomlin talk, Deontay Johnson, looks probable already. We use that cautiously because we've seen things go in the other direction before, previously. So, but Mike Tomlin seemed more optimistic about Deontay Johnson and his back injury that was suffered, I think, on like the second or third punt return that he had in the game there. DeCastro, we'll see. I couldn't pick up anything specific. Maybe when that abdomen injury happened there, he was gone and did not return, obviously replaced by Kevin Dotson, who I thought represented himself well again over there on that right side. Did have a couple penalties. One was kind of ticky-tack, I think, on an ineligible man downfield kind of call there. But, a couple of nice run blocks, I think, by Kevin Dotson in replace of David DeCastro. So we'll see what happens there. And Marquise Pouncey would probably, we'll probably worry about that one until we don't. I once again, you look at the tape and late in that game, and obviously don't have the all 22 yet, but it's hard to pick up anything specific that may have happened there. The final 5 or whatever snaps, J.C. Hassenauer was in the game there at center. No report, or hasn't been any report on Stefan Wisniewski and when a possible return might happen for him. Maybe one of these reporters will be wise enough to maybe ask for an update on him on Tuesday when Mike Tomlin talks to the media. So that's the roundup there on the injuries, and we'll obviously see what happens with Derek Watt and Marcus Allen this week as well too. But as far as seriousness goes, Deontay Johnson of the 3 that were listed as being injured on Sunday would probably be the less serious of the 3.
New game plan for the Steelers is just don't play Deontay Johnson in the first quarter, because that dude has the worst first quarters I've ever seen from a player, where it's just either it's fumbles or injuries or drops or whatever the case is. After that, the dude's fine the rest of the game, but the first 15 minutes, it just doesn't go right for him. So unfortunately for him, injuries have been a common thing associated with him, and super talented player, but got to be available. So hopefully he's out there for week 6. I suspect he will.
Yeah, just unfortunate stuff with him. The concussion and the back injury and all.
Yeah, this toe injury he's apparently dealing with every single week now. So we'll see. We'll keep you posted. And certainly, the thing with the Castro, though, just how quickly he went from questionable to ruled out in a couple minutes, and that's always concerning when you get that really quick ruled out type injury. Yeah,
and look, I mean, he already missed the first 2 games of this season with a knee injury. You keep your fingers crossed, but you're probably already easy to speculate that he might miss maybe 1 or 2 more, and hopefully not more than that if he misses any at all. Obviously we don't know a lot about the seriousness of it. Maybe Mike Tomlin will elaborate on that, but man, it's slowly starting to whittle away his 2020 season, and at this point you'd have to think, man, all pros probably out of the picture for him, if he misses any more games, and probably Pro Bowl as well too. And this is a guy that we've been kind of, teetering on, Hall of Fame credentials and all like that. Missing chunks of season won't do you any favors when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. All right, Dave, let's jump into the game itself. Again, Steelers win the Battle of PA, defeating the Eagles 38-29. Do you want to start with the offense, since that's kind of where we began the show, or do you want to flip over to the defense? All right, we'll start with the offense. And again, Chase Claypool is the story of the day, not only for Pittsburgh, but one of the top stories in the NFL in week number 5. 7 catches, 110 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 carries, 6 yards, an additional touchdown. Only the 3rd Steeler in history to have 4 total touchdowns in a game. Just one of the most dominant performances we've ever seen from a rookie. Granted, they weren't maybe the most difficult plays. The Eagles kind of helped him out, and I thought just overall a combination of Claypool's, as Ben said, God-given ability, his IQ, and some great scheme to get him open, to get him the ball, was the reason for that kind of crazy output.
I think what this translates to is spark.
As in with the Q at the end?
Yeah, with the Q at the end.
The spark score.
Right. I think I think that's maybe it should be Chase Q Claypool or something like that, because big, fast, and strong, right?
And smart.
And smart. And all those elements there, I think played into this. And I think it was I thought some of the best quotes post game were more about how quickly this kid has caught on, and we wrote and talked quite a bit about how tough it was going to be for rookies, barring injury, to get on the field and contribute. And he is going against the grain in that area. Now, obviously, Deontay Johnson's injuries have probably led to him playing more snaps, almost a carbon copy of what last year, right? With Deontay Johnson, well, more so, I guess, with Moncrief and the drops there. But there's reasons why Chase Claypool is getting on the field a little bit more than expected, but he's taking advantage of the snaps on top of it. And I thought Roethlisberger's comments about him being smart and about how, and this isn't the first time we've heard Roethlisberger say this offseason, about how if he doesn't make a mistake, he doesn't make it twice. And even when they had to use him in a couple of these formations because of, I guess, injuries, and most notably the touchdown number 4 there. He asked the right question. He made sure he got lined up in the right position there, albeit it sounded like he asked Ebron, and Ebron basically told the defense what route Claypool was going to be running. But sometimes if you know it's coming, sometimes you still can't stop that stuff. And what the Eagles were thinking about, and Doug Peterson really didn't have a great answer in his post-game press conference there. What in the heck they were doing on that particular play there, I do not know. Kind of a split safety Tampa 2 look. Boy, Ben Roethlisberger, if you look at the
that 1,000-yard stare he had.
It's like, like he saw something that he didn't expect to see, and then he immediately got him into that play, that specific play, in that route combination there. So kudos for him. He looked over and looked like he saw a ghost or something there, and I guess the ghost was Nate Gary there, being responsible, because I thought Ben did a great job. Said, look, we thought they were going to be more in probably what man coverage and a blitzing type situation, but looked up and saw split safety and Nate Gary down low, easily audible out of there. Had plenty of time to do it. Claypool evidently checked with Ebron to get his route that he's supposed to run, and then it was just simple. Really wasn't all that impressive double move, to be honest with you, but it was enough to just have Gary stumble, and there was just so much separation on that play. Easy pitch and catch there on that one. But going back to the post-game comments and really, encapsulating Claypool, sparky dude, and a smart, sparky dude on top of it. And I think that really, really showed in that game against the Eagles.
Absolutely. I think someone asked me yesterday, what's making Claypool so special? I just said when you have the freaky athlete that he is, combined with great conditioning, work ethic, and a high football IQ, and Ben throwing to you, that's usually going to lend itself to a good outcome. And so, on that 4th touchdown, I don't know what the Eagles were thinking. Even if Gary doesn't stumble, he's got no shot versus Claypool. It's the biggest down of the game. I'm not sure what the approach was there. But, Ben said that they had changed the call, and Claypool had never run that play from the slot before. It was always Ebron. And so for him to pick it up on the fly and make it work and make the intelligent play in such a crucial moment is obviously a testament to his football IQ and readiness. So, he was awesome. So, again, I thought it was just a blend of scheme and talent working together to put up 38 points and finally broke that 30-point drought too, which is nice to cross that off the list.
One of the catches that he didn't get ruled to catch was along the sideline there. At first, I thought he got both feet in there, but obviously when you slow that thing down and went back and look at the replay, he didn't. But a nice sideline grab over there, even though it didn't count. What were his other 3 incompletions there?
Well, there was the OPI. I don't know if that's an incompletion, but it's the elephant in the room, obviously.
Right, and look, that was just an arm over. I didn't see anything, and even the referee said a little. What did the referee? A little bit of a push off.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, you don't describe a penalty that way.
It's like the old giving him the business.
Right. So, I think he got robbed there, and I'm trying to go back through my head of where the other, because those don't officially count as incomplete passes on the no plays. I'm trying to remember what the other 3 incomplete passes were.
Just to clarify, I know everyone's saying that, well, had they not called OPI on that one, it would have been 5 touchdowns. They ruled him out of bounds on that post-catch,
they did?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's what the announcer said, and the announcer crew was not the best yesterday, so I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they had ruled him out. So even if they hadn't called OPI, I think that still would have been 4 touchdowns for Claypool. Just putting that out there.
All right.
I don't remember
it still should have been a catch either way.
Yeah, and that would have been a huge moment in the game for sure. The refs were terrible yesterday for both sides, for Eagles fans, for Steelers fans. I think both sides have gripes. The other 2 incompletions, I can't remember exactly. I can try to search it right now, but nothing. The other 2 are not coming to mind at the moment. Do you remember what the other two
No,
incompletions for Claypool?
I'm trying to search the play-by-play real quick here as well too, and short middle, left end, left tackle.
One on 1st and 5 at the Eagles 5, early third quarter, that was incomplete. I don't remember that one specifically. It was the play before Claypool's touchdown on that 4x1. So there's one of them.
He had the incomplete deep right with Slay in coverage. Do you remember that one?
Wasn't that the one that was overturned? Or is that a different one?
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
No, wait. Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the overturned one. Right.
Yeah, and then there was another one late second quarter that was a complete deep right for Claypool that I think Ben just missed on. I think that was thrown well out of bounds. I don't quite remember. Either way,
early third quarter, deep left, coverage by Mills. I'm trying to remember that one too.
Yeah. Those ones the incompletions aren't coming to mind because the touchdowns are just overshadowing. It's a good day when you have more touchdowns than incomplete targets. Absolutely. I mean, that's just the type of day that he had. But just to broaden the point from Claypool to the offense, I was so impressed with the scheme and the game plan for this offense. Ben said it right. Like, the Steelers threw the kitchen sink at the Eagles defense. And we talked about earlier in the week about the use of motion, how it hadn't really been successful yet. I made the point of you got to use that motion player more often. You made the point of get the ball in the hands of McFarland, especially Ray McCloud, and you kind of saw all of those things combined. It was a very different feel to the Steelers offense for large stretches on Sunday. And I mean that in a good way, where you're using motion, misdirection, getting the defense to bite and influence them. And I thought overall a really good game plan from Randy Fichtner, and of course Matt Canada influencing that pretty heavily, I'm sure. So very different offense, but kind of following the footsteps of what the best offenses in football do.
It's fun to see the Steelers fans with their feet in their mouth or foot in their mouth, trying to still now go from, because face it, that was a great game that Randy called. Now, what degree, how much did they all get together and put their heads together and putting the game plan together and play calling? Well, we'll never know. We don't sit in the meetings there. But like it or not, Randy called a very good game against the Texans, I thought, in week 3. I thought he called an even better one in week 4. And now they're all like, you see a lot of Steelers fans, I think because they've made the definitive statements that Randy Fichtner sucks, that now they're all, well, that's obviously all Matt Canada, so Randy needs to go now and turn things over to Matt Canada. It was a great game plan all the way around. I thought Randy called a fantastic game, and we talked about and I wrote about the pre-snap motions and all like that at the end of last week, stating that as a whole they have not been good from a success rate. But you're talking about a small sample size there as well too, and I made sure to note that. And just because you haven't had the success rates, look, you still have timing, and I think you saw a couple of them yesterday, a couple of timing issues still there. They're still trying to work the newness of this pre-snap motion at the snap of the football. The timing, they're still trying to get all the kinks and still trying to tinker with it quite a bit as far as personnel goes there. They stayed with it yesterday. 19 plays, Alex. 19 of 21, really. 21 in total. A couple of them were wiped out as no plays. And I don't have the success rates for you yet. I will in a post later today and all. But 19 plays in total. They had pre-snap motion on. With the player moving at the snap of the football. We saw all elements of it, and I was tickled. I was tickled pink as well too, because I was calling for McFarland and Ray McCloud to be on the field at the same time. And in fact, I put one specific play from the Texans game up the all 22 shot on my Twitter feed and say, don't be surprised if you see an element of this again, only going the other direction. And Ray get the ball. So I was tickled pink to see that play, and a little bit of uniqueness as well to that one as well too. The old Steelers counter that they like to run. They did that only with McDonald kind of doing a reverse pivot, if you will, out of that. We see some teams like the 49ers and Rams, I think, do that same kind of stuff there. And boy, they had the Eagles really off balance on that run by Ray McCloud. So the only downside to that entire play was Ray should have housed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I broke that down, that play in particular this morning on Steelers Depot. That is like a carbon copy what the 49ers did in the 2019 last year's NFC title game against Green Bay, where it's that same counter motion, the lineback play. They were using check the fullback, the Steelers in this case use Vance McDonald, their tight end, and it's a great way to build off what you do because the Steelers run that counter as much as any team in football with the tight end, the backside guard pulling, but now you're working off of that. And if you look at that play, you watch the strong side linebacker Alex Singleton, he takes that cheese really hard. He doesn't know where the ball's at till McLeod has it. So that is a great scheme. I love that. And again, this offense had a very collegish Kyle Shanahan type feel. And again, I mean that in a good way, to evolve. And while I think obviously Matt Canada has a big influence on this, they're not running this stuff if Canada's not here. You know, Dave, I asked the question 2 or 3 weeks ago, what is Randy Fichtner's best strength? And I think I've come to the conclusion of what his best strength is, and I mean this in all sincerity, is that the dude has no ego. I mean, the dude is all for having ideas brought to the table. He'll incorporate anything he thinks that will work, and he doesn't care where the idea comes from. So leaving your ego at the door, which is a thing not a lot of offense coordinators can do, not a lot of coaches can do. One's in power, especially for a brand new coach in the NFL like Matt Canada, a pretty young guy. So kudos to Fichtner for that. Kudos to Ben for working with that. It's just all new to Ben, 18-year veteran, to do some of this college stuff is probably pretty foreign. So kudos to the group as a whole coming together and the players executing.
And let's be honest here. You know, throughout the years, you know, with Ben for several years now, it's the playbook in its core hasn't evolved much. And probably because he likes it that way. You know, the Steelers have always had these core sets of things and plays that they do, you know. And the challenge in today's – and look, I mean, you go to every team, to its core, a lot of these things are core concepts, right? You know, it's very rare that you see, you know, really new innovative combinations and stuff like that, especially in the passing game. The running game, for the most part, I mean, you got counters, you got powers, you know, you got inside outside zones, and you know, now there's different intricacies inside, you know, blocking and you know, some whams and mixing in some that's where we're really starting to see how this offense is evolving and you know, probably 2 years later than what's been going around the NFL, but at least you're getting on the on the bandwagon there. You know, we're seeing these orbit motions. We're seeing this wind back like we saw. You would have never seen that 2 years ago, you know?
Right. The 4x1, last time we saw that stack like that. I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah, the 4x1, you know, and you got to give. And look, here's the bright side. And I don't even know what this. What did the success rate feel to you like on the pre-snap motion yesterday? If you had to guess,
yeah,
I don't know yet, you know.
I mean, there were times where it definitely didn't work, and it wasn't all perfect, obviously. I would say maybe around 40-45%, but the point is when it hit big. The touchdown to Claypool, the run by McLeod. So the payoff is worth maybe the 2 or 3 plays where it doesn't fool them or it doesn't get run right or someone misses a block, whatever the case is. So when it hits big, and that justifies the occasional kind of dud of a play.
I would agree, and I think that's probably I think that needs to be highlighted, what you just said there, moving forward in this, because we also talked again about last week about I just lost my train of thought there about usage and success rates and how they need to stick with it. I remember the percentage of it being the running plays and all.
Right.
You know, and
it was a very high, very skewed to the run, right?
Right, and that's going to be typical anyway, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I'm trying to separate this real quick here by. I'm not going to be able to get you your success rates this early, but yeah. Here's the gains. Let's see the net yards on those 19 plays. 4. Let me see distance. 4. That was 50%. So that would have been a success. 3, 1, not 8. 3. There's 2 successful plays. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Looks like 8 of 19.
So that puts you at 42%. So basically right what I was saying, 40, 45.
which was what did I write up the other day on success rate? It was like 42, didn't I? Right
Was it? I don't remember what it was.
Right around in there. So here's the thing. It felt more successful, did it not?
Again, yeah, it's just in the sense of when it hit big. I mean, you're getting touchdowns, you're getting double explosive type plays. I mean, you're really stressing the defense. And again, you got that motion player involved. Ray was touching the ball. Receivers, Claypool had 3 carries, so it wasn't just eye candy. And now you can really build off of that, continue to play this cat and mouse game against defenses, and that's where your offense can really be, I think, unlocked and unleashed with a Hall of Fame quarterback. So really excited about how they're going to build off of this going forward. They may not do this 20 times. I mean, I'm sure they had some extra time with the so-called bye week and stuff like that, and now it's on tape, and we'll see how defenses adjust to it. But this element will exist in this offense, and that's really exciting.
Right, and we will see probably 15 to 20 of these kind of plays here. Once again, I'm not, don't get caught up so much in the success rates as the big play, the big plays that they deliver. I think are huge.
Yeah, you're right. 42.9% was the success rate coming into this game, and I think it was 42 point something yesterday against the Eagles. So again, the success rate was the same, but the big plays were definitely something we hadn't seen from this motion so far.
And technically, the Ray one wasn't a pre-snap motion one.
Okay, yeah, because he didn't go in motion until the snap of the ball, I guess, huh?
Right.
All right. But still, I mean, just the idea of it. I mean, just that window dressing and so on, it doesn't technically count. I mean, you see the wheels churning, and the Eagles bit so hard on that play, man. And my favorite play call, one of my favorite play calls I've seen from this team in quite some time.
Yeah, I was tickled pink to see it, and I think, I wrote up in the 5 keys to the game there that got to get the need for mixed speed. And talking about Anthony McFarland, who was used a little bit less than I thought he would have been in this game, but they certainly made up with it with giving Ray McLeod some touches in there. One other note about talking about the pre-snap motion before we move on here. 25 yards was the longest play that they had with a player pre-snap motion, and that was a James Conner up the middle for 25 yards. And was that the play? Kevin Dotson was eating pancakes over there on the right side.
It was, and Vance had a great cut block on the front side of that play too. So good job all around, or the back side of the play, I guess it would be. But either way, good job all around.
And Vance, I thought, had another good game blocking, especially on the move.
Yeah. Tight ends have to be critical there. Receivers have to be getting involved in the run game with some of those double explosive type runs or explosive runs. So just good running all around against a tough Eagles defense, a good front, a really good defensive line. They certainly made their play. So kudos to the Steelers for a really good game plan. And again, to your point you mentioned earlier, I wrote about it in my post this morning for Steelers Depot. I haven't seen the offense evolve schematically like this for a long time. I can't remember the last time I saw this offense evolve schematically like this. So really refreshing to see.
I'm looking at the Joe Morgan just passed away. Alex, Cincinnati Reds second
announcer
baseman.
And great broadcaster too.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
Passed away at 77. Boy, I grew up watching. I used to love watching those Pirates Reds games back in the 70s, man, or on into early 80s as a kid there. And obviously, I knew a lot about Joe Morgan before he became a broadcaster, and I always thought he did a fantastic job as a broadcaster.
Yeah, I loved him and John Miller. Great duo. Yeah. I remember, this is a very random story, but since you mentioned there was the baseball game, MLB 2K5, I think it was, and both of those guys, John Miller, Joe Morgan, were in the game, and if you would pause the game, they would do like a trivia thing, and I don't know, it was just really cool. And so that's kind of how I grew up with baseball, so that's very sad news.
Looks like only one of those plays with pre-snap motion yesterday was a pass short middle to Ray McLeod that was not that one had that one gained 8 yards. It was kind of a screen. I think the passing distance was -5 yards on that, and Ray gained 13 yards after the catch.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, these things are generally more run-focused, but that's something to build off of. I mean, now that teams are looking at the run, can you build some passes into that? I'm sure you can. So just the first step, but we'll see how this evolves, but really excited about this offense going forward. And again, to break that 30-point curse, hadn't done it since, week 13, I think, 2018. So nice to have that monkey off your back.
All right, we're to with talking about rest of the offense. Ben's still not there with the deep ball yet.
Yeah, I guess it's just a timing thing. I mean, obviously, some guys like Deontay coming in and out of the lineup isn't going to help matters, but I'm not super concerned about it right now. Just to go back to the game plan and the coaches, and then Ben, of course, throwing the touchdown to Chase Claypool to win it. I'm just glad that they put the ball in Ben's hands at the end of the game. They didn't go into a shell. They didn't just run and try to kill clock. They just wanted to go for the dagger and to win the game. And so, an obvious point, because it's Ben and it's your Hall of Fame quarterback. It's not brand new, but putting the ball in his hand late was the right call.
Yeah, in today's NFL, I don't think, unless you got a about 3 possession lead, you better not just be sitting, taking the air out of the ball, especially with the Steelers. We all know how it seems like we're sweating the last 4 minutes of every game. I mean, it was good to see them. I felt like they had to score a touchdown. I didn't feel like a field goal or obviously not scoring at all was going to be enough in that situation. They got a little bit of a gift of the field goal kicker missing the long field goal down on the other end. You got to take advantage of that. You got to sweep the leg right there, and it was good to see them go down and actually finish that drive off.
Absolutely. Other things for the offense, the run game was successful enough. Third down was excellent. The Steelers' third down offense was as good as their third down defense was bad. Steelers were 11 for 15 on third down. Time of possession, again, they held the ball for over 36 minutes against Houston, almost 35 minutes in Sunday's game against the Eagles. So I'm not sure when the last time that happened was, but they're really controlling the ball, controlling the clock, converting on third downs, finishing drives, all very impressive stuff.
13 for 13 Ben was on third downs. Obviously not all of them converted, but a good portion of them did. You convert third downs at that rate, usually good things happen. And obviously we saw this team break the how many games was it? 24
23
or 24 games in a row of not scoring 30 points. So that one's out the window now. And what was it? 4 of their first 5 possessions or something ended in scores of some sort. That's obviously good. Keeping that hammer down early in games. The only thing we need now is a touchdown to start an opening possession touchdown. I have a feeling that's going to come to an end pretty soon. Yeah. Let's see. They went punt, touchdown. Here's their first. 6 possessions: punt, touchdown, field goal, touchdown.
Yeah, the only blemish is that first possession. It'll get there.
Right, 6 plays and they gained 1 yard, net 1 yard on that first possession.
On 6 plays?
Huh?
Was on 6 plays?
Right.
Was there a sack? Oh yeah, Ben got sacked by Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. Right, and then Deontay ran backwards on that 3rd and 17 and got smacked by Darius Slay. Other than that, though, really good stuff from the offense for sure. Ben has not thrown an interception in 2 straight games, so that's good. The O-line didn't have their best game, but again, that Eagles pass rush is fierce, and Ben was ultimately only sacked 1 time, so I guess overall you take it.
Yeah, once again, you want to see the deep ball get going with him. He was accurate. Look, I mean, even on one of those that got wiped out by the, I think it was by the ineligible man downfield by Dotson, that kind of back shoulder throw to Juju over off the left side. That's an aggressive throw, even though it is back shoulder in that particular moment, and Juju obviously caught it. I thought his aggressiveness is still there and is fine from a percentage standpoint. Still, and I've said this several times, and people don't like me refer to it that way, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's evident, this is still a dink and dunk kind of offensive going right now for him, from a statistical standpoint, because he's not hitting his deep balls. You're seeing a huge gap right now in intended air yards versus completed air yards. You want to see that gap shorten, obviously. When it does, this offense is going to become even more potent. Now, I think you would agree it lost a little degree of its clunkiness on Sunday against the Eagles. We just need to get all the rest of that clunkiness out of it. And I think getting the deep passes to hit is an element that will help in that. He's very, very low league wide when it comes to completed air yard distance. It's like 3 point or 4 point something, which is way down there, especially for Ben Roethlisberger. Now, it's not bad because you're winning. You're still getting what you need to do. You're not having to travel a lot of long fields as well. That obviously helps out in the situation as well, too. So if there are things that you'd like to see this offense work on right now, it would still be regular run success rates. You want a little bit more consistency, I think, in your run success rates on regular runs. And then you would like to see Ben be able to connect downfield at a higher rate past 15 yards past the line of scrimmage.
Sure, I'm with you 100%, and hopefully that will come in time. But overall, offense has been impressive. Ben's been efficient. Some of the third down plays are excellent, and they're just taking better care of the football. Obviously, had the Ebron fumble yesterday, but that was the only turnover. You won the turnover battle +1, so you take it.
More manageable third downs, right?
Yeah, I thought that was one big goal for this team early, was getting in a third and medium to be able to try to not have to worry about the Eagles pass rush as much. And so that allows you to hit more crossers to James Washington, slants to Claypool. I love that little rub play they run. They got it twice yesterday, once to Claypool, once to Ebron. That's been a pretty big staple of some of their 3rd and 3 to 4 type offense. So, yeah, getting in a third and manageable, helping to mitigate some of that pass rush was key. And then to the O-line, Okorafor continues to play really well. Just have not even heard his name, which is a great thing you could say about an offensive lineman. Dotson played well coming in for DeCastro. Villanueva, I think, plays pretty well. So the Eagles definitely got their pressure. They definitely got to bend a little bit, but they didn't have some sort of monster performance that would have changed the scope of the game.
Are we going to look, Matt Filer's not playing awful, but he could be playing better. How's that?
That's fair.
That said, I mean, Kevin Dotson, once again, I didn't think this was as good a showing, as he had like in week 2? But he's very good out in space. Man, he really does move good out, on pulling and on the screens. Really like to watch him out in space. Boy's got the throwback elements of still Damani Dawson, back in my head about him getting out in space, the way he moves and all like that. It's too early to talk about this, I think, but I mean, and we'll see obviously what happens with DeCastro's injury. It might be a moot point anyway for the next couple of games. But as this thing goes on, it's going to be hard to keep Kevin Dotson off the field, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you're moving him to left guard under that hypothetical, and obviously I think part of the reason why you're seeing his success at right guard is because that's where he's comfortable at. I mean,
Sure.
It will just depend on comfort on the left side. So understand the point, and certainly for next year, you think he's going to work his way into the starting lineup at, I would assume, left guard?
One of the two. I mean, look, DeCastro, it's foolish to the demise of DeCastro is way out there right now. Okay, he's just having an injury plagued season. When he's in there, he's fine. Obviously he's not 100% healthy right now. So that's one element of this. But Filer obviously being a free agent after this year, it's looking more and more like he's not going to be back. Okay. So then it becomes which one of those two guys between DeCastro and Dotson do you move?
Right. That's what I was getting at was that I'm sure some could theorize we'll move DeCastro to left guard. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Dotson's playing well. And, yeah, to come in off the bench, so still play 54 snaps. Because in the Giants game, week 1, he came off the bench, but he played, 6 snaps, and the game was over. So it wasn't a whole lot going on there. And so to come off the bench, play that amount of snaps against Fletcher Cox, one of the best defensive tackles in football, and play pretty well overall, at least on first glance. I mean, tip my hat to Kevin Dotson.
Right.
All right, Dave, anything else with the offense you wanted to go over?
Juju kind of quiet. Look, it was Chase Claypool show, obviously, and really McLeod for the most part there. But I'm not overly disturbed about anything else that happened in that game. Once again, I'd like to see the running game be a little bit more consistent with the success rates on regular runs. And the good thing, going back and kind of ending on offense here, talking about that pre-snap motion. A lot of that's on tape now, so you're really going to have opposing defenses thinking a lot more right now. And the hope in that is that some of these pre-snap motions will result in more of these 15 to 20-yard runs by Connor and McFarland and along those lines. I think you got to continue to try to be a little creative with those, but hopefully the byproduct of all this will be just regular runs success rates going up.
Yeah, and you just got to build off of that now that it's on tape, and again, continue to get ahead in this cat and mouse game of just making defenses think and having to react and adding new wrinkles and some passes and just adding new different components to the playbook, different wrinkles. And if you do that, this offense will continue to thrive.
Top three graded offensive players by PFF: Chase Claypool, Ray McLeod, and did I call him Ray McDonald? Ray McLeod, and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah,
I get to talking and forget what I say sometimes.
Yeah, I mean Claypool, obviously that performance, and yeah, did not expect Ray McLeod to be above Ben in PFF rankings way back in July, but here we are, and he played well.
18 total snaps. I thought maybe you could get him on the field for another 7 or 8 or whatnot and get the ball in his hands 3 or 4 times. But and obviously Deontay Johnson going down probably facilitated a little bit higher play count for Ray. But look, the biggest fear with him when they signed him originally was just ball security. And right. So far that happened. I still would have liked to have seen him house that one, but I'll take a double explosive play any day of the week.
Led the Steelers in rushing yesterday. The first Steelers receiver to do that since DHB in 2016, 2017, lost to Miami, whichever it was. And last note for the offense, Jalen Samuels, 2 snaps. That's it. So unless it's a real passing situation, the team's playing from behind, he's not going to play much.
Yeah, I think one was a 3rd down, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, but that sounds about right because that's 3rd down, 2-minute offense. That's about his wheelhouse if Connor needs a rest, and that's about all Samuels is going to offer right now.
Yeah, so that the signs are out there when it comes to him. One other thing, and we obviously we're doing this without use of the all 22 yet, but I thought James Conner good in blitz pickup. No surprise there. One specific play stuck out that avenue, and there was one other point that I thought that I wanted to make, and it's not coming to me right now there. But okay, we're ready to move on.
All right, to the defense, and a less sparkling review for this defense that certainly had its struggles and just made Travis Fulgham into Jerry Rice somehow. 10 catches for.
I know what it was. Better let me get it before I forget about it again.
Go ahead.
How many wide receiver runs did we see in that game?
Claypool had 3, McLeod had 2, so 5 or 6.
Okay, 5. I guess it's 5. Felt
right.
A lot more than that for some reason. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a couple of those maybe we call passes because if you throw it forward on the jet, that's considered a pass. So maybe a couple of those get in there on the technicality. But yeah, receivers very active in the run game for sure.
All right, and that's one thing I wanted to cover.
Mm-hmm. And for the Steelers defense, again, it's banner day. Fulgham. I mean, half of Carson Wentz's completions went to Travis Fulgham. I mean, everyone knew where the ball was going. He was the only guy producing for them offensively, and the Steelers could not stop him. It wasn't even so much, and Tomlin made this point after the game, that they weren't in the area. They were most of the time, at least. They just couldn't make a play on the football, and they got toasted. No doubt about that. That's Hayden, that's Nelson, that's Hilton. All those guys had their issues.
Yeah, Fulgham was Fulgham them.
That's a stretch.
I was waiting to try to work that one in. There were a few contested catches in there. There were a few that
But were they contested though? They were in the area, but they just were tackling and putting them on the ground. They weren't even playing the catch point.
There were one or two of them I thought that was kind of contested there, but a lot of these were some zones, both man and zone situations, right?
Right.
The guy was the guy was eating them up, eating them alive, and they almost like they were just trying to keep everything in front of him again, on a lot of these there. Didn't he have one that Minka bounced off of him? Was that him?
Yeah. Minka tried to throw the shoulder, and that is not Minka scheme against a man that size.
Yeah, that's I need to stay away from that. There were never, when I say kind of kid, there were never. I think Joe Hayden may have had one that was a pass breakup contested, right? Was that
right?
him?
That was the one at the end of the game on the 3rd and 5, and that was huge for sure.
It was a huge play. It was a big play in the game.
Massive play. Yeah, and to play that clean as well. But yeah, I mean that was huge. Other than that, though, there were a lot where he was just boxing them out, and again, they were getting him on the ground generally, but they just couldn't make a play at the catch point.
Right. That was a bit disturbing. Obviously, when it comes to an inexperienced guy like that, not and him really having his way with all your corners.
Mm-hmm. And again, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say just not only just Fulgham's plays, but the third down defense. I said, the Steelers' third down offense was as good as the Steelers' third down defense was bad. And what were the Eagles on third down? 10 for 14, 10 for 15, 10 for 14. And it wasn't just the fact that they allowed 10 third down conversions, although that's an obscenely high number. It was they allowed first downs on 3rd and 17, on 3rd and 10, on 3rd and 9, the Miles Sanders 75-yard touchdown, 3rd and 8. I mean, just over and over, just clear get-off situations. They could not get off the field. And so that, to me, was the most disturbing and disappointing part of it all.
I would agree. I can handle a guy going 10 for 152 on you, I think, a lot easier than some of these third and longs, which he was obviously a part of, connected. And I think three of those four third and longs that they converted, I think, during the air were explosive plays on top of it. So not only are you giving up a third down, you're giving up a third and long, and you're giving up a third down or an explosive play to we all know how important explosive plays are in games, and very demoralizing. And it's not like it's just this game that we've seen that so far this season. They have got to do a better job in not playing so soft. Some of these too, just protect the chains,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, last week against Watson, or 2 weeks ago against Watson, I was blaming it more on zone coverage, not the strength. Having to keep eyes on the quarterback because of Deshaun Watson's threat to run, and they played some zone for sure against the Eagles because Wentz is a threat with his legs. In the 3rd and 17, Cam Sutton's got to get depth there. I mean, you can't allow that 7 route on 3rd and 17. You got to squeeze that play, let them throw short. But they got burnt in man too, so it wasn't just that zone was eating them up. It was man too that they were having trouble with, which shouldn't be even on the table, considering all the injuries this Eagles team has. A receiver did not have Alshon Jeffrey, did not have Deshaun Jackson available to them yesterday. So that was all the more disappointing. And yeah, the Eagles started the game over 2 on third down. They finished at 10-12. And so that is just unacceptable.
And plus, you got one instance saved by the bell, if you will, because the deep pass to JRK Whiteside, if they had a little more time, that was going to end up in points as well, too. They just ran out of time. I mean, a 37-yard.
Oh, at the end of the half, right?
Right, at the end of the half there, So you get a saved by the bell mulligan there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to find a way to work in a Zach Morris freeze phrase into this, but I can't think of it. I'll circle back to that one, keep in my pocket. But yeah, I mean, it was just. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, again, that Zach Ertz hurt them. But Zach Ertz did nothing yesterday. What did he have? A couple catches for a handful of yards?
No, he had 1 for 6, but I think he had a drop in there. I think he had a couple of bad targets. I mean, they tried to get the ball to him. They just didn't, just couldn't. And look, I mean, you had the blown you had the blown coverage on the Fulgham touchdown.
Right.
Which you can't wait to. I mean, who do you blame on that?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, it's a bunch. They're not passing it off correctly. I think Minka probably should have squeezed that, but it's Minka and Nelson and a lot of space between him with Fulgham in the middle.
And on the Ward touchdown, Joe Hayden was in a no-win situation there with the leverage and the amount of field there was on that one. I mean, he just got ran away from,
Yeah, but he's getting a little older, and maybe a younger, sprier corner could have closed that gap a bit. It's tough to play that slot fade because you got to play slant first. He releases outside, you're catching up, but Hayden was not able to close on that one, and he had some time to do it.
And he doesn't get a lot of reps over there on that side, and in that particular type situation either,
Right.
So that's obviously some kryptonite when it comes to that, and it wasn't even close on that one.
Are you concerned about how concerned are you about this defense? I should phrase it.
Look, the tape certainly was not as good as what the stats say on this, because the defensive adjusted net yards per pass, you boil it on down, you look at the defensive adjusted net yards per passing attempt on that, and it's under 5, and you're thinking, how the hell did that happen?
Right. How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, you get the couple interceptions in there, and you had the 5 sacks. That extra interception, I'm sure, helped immensely. Garbage interception, if you will, and then obviously 5 sacks, and then the amount of 35 attempts. Basically the interceptions help cross out those touchdowns there. But 4 point, I forget what the exact number was, but
4.5, I think you said.
Yeah, it's obviously one of those situations there where the stat will lie to you. This time. How worried am I? I'm most worried about the 3rd and long situations. That's what has me. I can because if you look at the running game, and they had to. It's discouraging to see the 74-yard touchdown run. Okay, that's occasionally going to happen. All right. Mike Hilton misses a tackle there that he should have made. All right, and on top of it, Trey Edmonds, I kind of thought was held at the end of that. It's still going to be explosive run anyway, double, triple explosive run anyway there. I can turn my head to that run. All right, I can say, okay, they got caught. As long as that doesn't happen every other week, situation there. What has me most concerned right now about this defense is the 3rd and long situations, period.
Yeah, I hear you. My thought with that is, though, is this really sustainable? Are they really going to be this bad in 3rd and long? Is there going to be a natural eventual regression to the mean? I don't know where they're at exactly statistically right now, but I just feel like they can't be this bad the rest of the way, right?
Right, and if they do, then I think you're going to have, they're not going to give. They're not going to give up as many touchdowns probably in situations because of that, because of getting off the field in those situations, on those 3rd down situations. You got to get off the field on 3rd and long situations. How many of those times did they convert on 3rd and longs? Those possessions wind up in points of some kind?
Multiple, I'm sure. I think of the one where Bud Dupree missed that sack, and I don't know how Wentz got out of it, but kudos to him. And then.
Right, and Vince, look, I didn't agree with it. I'm sure you probably didn't either. Vince Williams got a roughing call on that play.
To the letter of the rule, putting your body weight on the quarterback is now illegal, which I think is dumb. But to the letter of the rule, I think it was enforced correctly.
Right.
But that led to a touchdown, so there's one for sure, and I'm sure there were other examples of that as well. So yeah, absolutely, it was a big factor. The Steelers just make those 2 tackles. I know we're going all hindsight and coulda, woulda, shoulda, but if Hilton makes a tackle on Sanders and Dupree makes a tackle on Wentz, that game isn't close.
Right, so you just boiled down the defense to 2 plays.
Right, which is easy for me to do from the comfort of my office and on a Monday morning. The concern.
All right, so I'll turn it back to you then. You just boiled it down to 2 plays. How concerned are you about this defense right now?
Right. Well, yeah. What I'm trying to think about, is there any issue with this defense right now where I feel like it's going to be an issue going forward? Again, are they going to miss tackles that lead to 75-yard touchdowns? I don't think so. This is a good tackling unit overall. Are they going to really allow 10 for 14 on 3rd down every single week? No. The concern for me is the corners and the secondaries in general are not being competitive enough at the catch point. They aren't making enough splash plays. I know Nelson had 2 interceptions yesterday, but no one who watched that game really thinks Nelson had a quality 2-interception type performance. And so I want to see these corners make some of the plays they were making last year. I want to see Minkah Fitzpatrick make some of the plays he was making last year. And that's an issue that could continue going forward. And so that's where my concern is at currently.
Well, when you go back and you remember kind of those plays that Minkah made during the first half of the season, Joe Hayden gets credit for one of those for forcing an interception. A few, I'm trying to think, the fumble return for a touchdown was obviously not his own do. I mean, he picked it up and ran with it.
But he was making big plays. The pick six against the Colts.
That was huge.
Cam Kelly interception. I mean, Minkah was making big plays. The corners are making big plays on the football, and I'm not seeing that so far. And that's the part that concerns me.
Now, people will say, now, why is that? Are they trying to move him around too much and just not let him play center field? We're not. You know what we're not seeing that would be the most concerning about him? The kind of plays like the Cooper Kupp breakup.
Which one was that? Where he just came across the middle? Oh, he closed on the football.
Right. When he came down, he read it and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Not a turnover, but it was a pretty big play in the game. Those kind of things. So yeah, I mean, look, and here's the thing. I know people are probably on Trey Edmonds. I thought Trey Edmonds had a pretty decent game overall yesterday. As far as guys in the secondary go for them, which probably isn't saying too terribly much. Mike Hilton, big missed tackle. I mean, say what you will about the game Mike Hilton had. It's hard to get past that missed tackle on the Miles Sanders touchdown there.
And 31-yard completion to Fulgham down the middle, which was a great throw and catch. And I know Hilton's got a big mismatch there against the big guy in Fulgham. And I just want to give credit to Fulgham because I know just because we don't know the name doesn't mean that dude's a bad player. This dude looks like a legitimately good receiver. He had the big touchdown against the 49ers on Sunday night 2 weeks ago. Maybe this guy's just a good player that the league's finding out about. So I do want to at least offer that perspective. But again, you can't let one guy dominate you like that.
All right, let me put it to you this way about you asking me how concerned I am about this defense right now. My concern level is raised even more than it was going into this game. However, I still think the next game or two will be more of the telltale sign here. I think, and that's dangerous, I think they're better than what we've seen on tape so far.
Yeah, no, I would agree, and
I hope I'm right because I really thought this defense in these first 4 or 5 games would be lights out, and they're not. All right, I have a feeling though I'm still betting that at the midway point here. We're looking at this. Look, they got some tough games coming up now.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Cleveland, Tennessee, Baltimore. This is a big litmus test coming up.
I'm still going to bet, and we'll see if this bet pays off. That we're looking at the midway point. And say, man, yeah, this defense is good, and whatever the hiccups were, especially at third down. I mean, what's the complexion of this game, Alex? How big does it change? If they get off the field on some of those 3rd and long, 3 of those third and long situations. I know it's a big if because they didn't, and that's why we're talking about this, But it would really change the complexion of that game yesterday.
Dramatically. As I said, if Hilton makes that tackle on Sanders, I mean, there was holding downfield, sure, but if Hilton makes that play, it's all a moot point. So that's where my focus is at. And if Dupree finishes that play on Wentz and sacks Carson Wentz, this game is not close. It's a Steelers and a runaway. But they didn't make the play, obviously, and the game was close.
And I think I hate to the stats are the stats, and the adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat, no matter how it lies. It lied yesterday. I mean, it is what it is yesterday, and that's what you want to see. You want to see a low number like that, and they got the W. So the tape needs to be better in the story. Period.
Yeah, it is nice, though, to talk about these issues and potentially, raise the concern level and still be 4-0 and only allow more than 21 points once in your first 4 games. And statistically, this defense is still really strong in a lot of metrics. And again, offenses are scoring at record paces this year. I'm not trying to excuse it. I'm just trying to offer some explanation, trying to offer some context. And the pass rush is still big, and they're still taking the football away. Again, not the most high-quality takeaways yesterday with Nelson's 2 picks, but 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Today's NFL, said it before, I'll harp on it again. That is the winning formula for a defense, or pressure, sacks, and takeaways. You're going to give up yards. You're going to give up points. That's just baked to the cake of how the NFL works today.
Right.
And this defense, by the way, and I'm sure the number will change at some point. They're still on pace for an 80-sack season. They had 5 more yesterday on Carson Wentz. The NFL record is 72 since sacks became official in 82, held by the Bears in, I believe, 84. So they're going to hit 50 for the 4th straight year. That'll be the first defense to do that since the 80s Giants with Lawrence Taylor and company. And could they hit 60? I've been saying it for a couple of years. They've been really close. This might be the year. All right, Dave, with the defense, yeah, so secondary aside, Stephon Tuitt, I thought played well yesterday, and I'll have to go back through the all 22, but according to Jonathan Vilma, who was the color analyst for Fox, said that Tuitt's sack, had Tuitt not made that sack in the 4th quarter, there was somebody running wide open downfield that would have been an easy touchdown for the Eagles, and I believe it would have given Philadelphia the lead. So apparently Tuitt had a big sack there. Hayward gets his first full sack of the year. Watt had a sack earlier in the game. So a lot of pressure, and aside from the Sanders long touchdown, I know you cannot throw that out, but they did bottle up the run game the rest of the way.
Yeah, after Sanders had that run, I think he had 8 runs for 7 yards. Now, one of those was really a successful play. It was a touchdown run in those other 7 there. But that's why it's even easier now to look past that 70-something. Look, we don't want to say every week. It's easy to look past that. But other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
I was just gonna say that. I've been hanging around you too much.
I have 0 concerns about that long run yesterday. All right, as long as it doesn't happen again. The longest run I want to see from here on out is like 20 or 25 yards. Don't even want to see that. But it's once again, it's easier for me to turn the eye. Turn an eye away from that because they were very good against the run. After I thought they did a good job of hitting Carson Wentz whenever he tried to take off. He is not going to last the season doing that. All right. I don't know why the Eagles have insisted on doing that right from the get-go with him. Trying to think what else stuck out defensively. Look, they're getting the pressure. They got to finish some of these sacks. Obviously, people probably are asking what's going on with Devin Bush. And look, you got those guys up front making all these. You got Vince Williams still blowing stuff up in the run game. Doesn't give Devin Bush a chance to make any of these sideline to sideline or clean up tackles there. So. Yeah, he's not prominent on tape right now, but I'm not worried about Devin Bush. Of any of those guys right now in that defense right now, I'm not worried about Devin Bush.
Yeah, and not that it was solely his responsibility, but again, Zach Ertz, 1 catch, 6 yards. I mean, I'm sure Bush had a hand in that for sure. So just to go back to the overall question about the worry about the defense, I'm going to create a new scale here for you, Dave, and let's call it the DEFCON Dave scale. Where are we at here? 1 to 5. 1 being the highest alert, highest amount of concern. 5 being the lowest amount of concern. Where are you at on the DEFCON Dave scale?
For the defense?
Yeah, for the defense.
3.
Defense.
3.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm in that 3 to 4 range. So I think 1 is an overreaction. But as you said, you got Cleveland coming up, really good offense, great weapons. Tennessee, Baltimore, Dallas. Now, granted, Dallas won't have Dak Prescott, but they got some of the best receivers in football. So. Big test coming up for the Steelers group to really see where we're at on the worry scale.
How many explosive plays did they give up yesterday? Let's see here.
Too many. It's my answer every week.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an almost one to Fulgham for 19 yards.
And that was on 3rd down, I think.
And that was on
that
was 1st and 10.
Okay.
4 of the Wait, no, hold on. Wait, there's more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. All 5 of their explosive plays came on 3rd down. How about that?
I can't. And I imagine most of those were 3rd and 7+.
The Sanders run 3rd and 9. The 37 deep pass to JJ that they ran out of time on was 3rd and 10. 31 yards to Fulgham was 3rd and 12. 3rd and 3 was the roughing call. So you might as well count that because it was a 9-yard catch and that's got to be ruled as an explosive play, doesn't it? Technically, I mean, even though it's not, it is. I mean, a penalty stacked onto a 15-yard penalty stacked onto a 9-yard gain. I mean, it's a gain of 20-something yards. It's got to be ruled an explosive play. There's always been some talk about do those kind of penalty plays at tack on count as explosive plays. I think they do because they moved the ball more than 20 yards down the field in one play.
Yeah, I'm going to quote, are you a Futurama guy at all? Probably not. No, I'm going to quote Hermes Conrad here. I think it was Hermes. Anyway, he said the line is, you are technically correct. The best kind of correct. Yeah, I think technically because the ball did move that far, but there is certainly, I guess, some context worth talking about.
All right, so five explosive plays yesterday, all 5 on 3rd down. That's probably the most disturbing stat period from that defense yesterday.
Right, but I just don't see that as sustainable in terms of them allowing because at least three of those were 3rd and 7+, so maybe 4. I just can't see that being a weekly occurrence. As disappointing as it was.
All right, so hopefully we'll be right in a few more games if they get right on 3rd and long situations. We're probably going to have a lot better taste in our mouths on Monday morning.
For sure. Some other things for the defense. They played some one defensive lineman fronts, which was interesting in dime, where they would have a 1-4-6 instead of a 2-3-6 look. So that had Vince out there more and only one defensive lineman, which was interesting. Some more 3-man rushes, some more dropping 8 and stuff in the coverage, which was a decision. And it was not just for the first series of the game, although it was for the first series of the game too. Mike Hilton playing some safety in place of Trey Edmonds. So take that for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, and Edmonds was actually off the field for like 7 or 8 plays, I think, in total.
Right, and I think all of those came in base with Hilton replacing with safety, and that was, I think, against 11 personnel, so I don't know if that was just some sort of matchup thing where they wanted to have the extra corner against 11 personnel or what the decision was. I'll have to really go through the all-22, but that is, worth mentioning. I don't think Edmonds has played terrible, and obviously Hilton did not have a great game yesterday, but just something to point out because that was interesting.
I think when it all boils down, you'd like to see your secondary, and you kind of started with this, you'd like to see your secondary make more plays on the football, period. But I don't think you can downplay the Joe Hayden. That Joe Hayden pass breakup late was a pretty big play in the game. You just would like to see more of that early, so you're not in a situation where you're having that happen. You'd like to see your corners and your safeties make more plays on the football. They did during the first half of last season. They are not right now. And really, yeah, I mean, it looks great in Steven Nelson's stat column, but, what were those 2 interceptions?
Right. The one was to Ertz where he got bumped by Vince and maybe some slight miscommunication, which nice play by Nelson, big play for sure, but still not a difficult play. And then the 4th and 20 prayer by Wentz that Nelson wrestled away from Cam Sutton to pass that. Poor Cam Sutton. Sutton needs to get paid. Nelson's got his money. Sutton needs that for the offseason.
Sutton needed that one.
But, that is my biggest concern for this defense going forward is the thing that I sit there and say, could this continue? And that the concern is the defense, the secondary specifically, not making those big splash plays, making those plays at the catch point on the football.
And we're still trying. Look, we haven't seen the all-22 from this either. We'll talk more defensively about scheme. At least I'll be able to more when I see the all-22 on that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Dave. Anything else from the defense you want to cover, or we can move on?
No, I think we got it. Who led the team in tackles? Let's see.
That's a good question. Edmonds, Bush,
Hilton. Yeah, you don't want your cornerback having to lead the team in tackles.
No, I wish Hilton would have had one more tackle. Couldn't stop the 74-yard touchdown. Special teams was better. I thought Colquitt and the punt team was good. James Pierre had a nice job as, I think, gunner. Kick coverage was solid. Spillane getting down there early. So Boswell, 5 for 5 on extra points, 1 for 1 on field goals. Nice day at the office for the special teams unit.
No complaints.
Yep, no complaints. And no penalties, I think, on special teams. Eight penalties overall for the Steelers, but that was a highly penalized game for both sides.
Yeah, I thought, I thought the Steelers kind of benefited early, maybe on one of those James Washington late pass interference penalties there. Obviously, Chase Claypool got screwed on his OPI. I thought the downfield on Dotson was a bad call. What else stuck
He wasn't
out?
even past the line of scrimmage. He was still behind the line of scrimmage. So I think Mike Pereira even said that it was a bad call. And yeah, Darius Slay's PI was not PI. Steelers benefited from that one.
Was that the one? What was the one on McLeod?
On Ray Ray?
Yeah, there was one penalty against the Eagles on McLeod when he was in coverage. I mean, when he was not in coverage, when he was down the right side. Don't you remember
when he got grabbed. Yeah,
right.
That was a good call.
Right.
He got grabbed for sure. That one was fine, but there were a lot of bad calls that definitely significantly impacted the scope of the game.
And then the Williams, the Williams late roughing was a key call in that game because that was third down.
Right, which I think was the right call, but I think it's a dumb rule. But that's life today.
All right. All right. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's everything. We'll circle back to it Wednesday for sure. Let's go around the AFC North, and you had Cleveland winning big. I mean, talk about a Week 6 matchup. The 4-1 Cleveland Browns against the 4-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Last time both Cleveland and Pittsburgh played each other and entered the game with each team having winning records was 2007. So a long time coming, and that's going to be maybe game of the week next Sunday.
I think that one's going to get CBS treatment from Romo Nance and Tracy Wolfson.
Tracy Wolfson, yeah. So that's definitely going to be one of the marquee games. And so the Browns, a good win versus a Colts team with an excellent defense. They hung on, and the offense looked good even without Nick Chubb, and the run game wasn't spectacular. So kudos to Cleveland.
And it will be a good test because I think Baker's playing pretty decent right now as well. So.
And the X-rays on his ribs came back negative, so he should be out there Sunday.
All right.
And Baltimore beat up on who did Baltimore?
Cincinnati.
Was the Bengals? Okay. Yeah.
AJ Green just might as well hang it up now. He's done. Did you see him mail it in on that
interception?
On that interception? That's embarrassing. You know?
Yeah. He's really. I mean, the dude's just never healthy. He's not productive. T. Higgins is playing well for the Bengals. They still can't protect Burrow. It's crazy. They get their left tackle and Jonah Williams. They still can't come close to protecting their franchise.
And I think they lost another defensive lineman for the season yesterday as well too.
Did they?
To an injury, I think I read. So the Bengals are in rough shape now moving forward.
And they benched Carlos Dunlap, which is Steelers fans know Dunlap well.
Dunlap had one of their only. Dunlap had didn't they only have one sack yesterday? I thought maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I thought he made a play yesterday. But AJ Green just needs to check out right now.
Yeah, but they have some other weapons. I mean, Tyler Boyd and Higgins is emerging, but yeah, Green is done. So that is your AFC North recap, and it's going to be a 3-horse race between Baltimore, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. Makes these AFC North battles critical. I mean, they will decide who wins the North this year.
I was surprised the Browns handled the Colts the way that they did, and really wasn't even as close because the Colts had a 100-something yard touchdown kickoff return for a touchdown. You know, so
right, and they had some injuries. They lost Wyatt Teller. That'd be interesting. Will Wyatt Teller play their star guard Cleveland? He probably will play Sunday, but that'll be one name to monitor.
Okay.
All right, Dave. Before we get to some reader emails and begin closing out the show, let's hear from our friends over at MyBookie.
Winning season returns at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means insane props, epic bonuses, and the craziest cross-sport wagers. At MyBookie, winning season means watching live sports and betting live sports all season long. Rejoice! The NFL has returned. That means action-packed Sundays and huge cash prizes. Get in on the action. Use promo code TERRIBLE. That's promo code TERRIBLE and double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to your sports you love and the games you bet. Bet with the best this NFL season and chance to win big. Use promo code TERRIBLE and double your first deposit. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie, mybookie.ag.
All right, Dave, before we get to reader emails, just a quick recap around the league, what the Falcons, Dan Quinn, is that official? That if I remember.
Yeah, him and Dimitroff, yep.
Right, and Dak Prescott, he's going to miss the season with one of the worst-looking injuries that you've ever seen. Steelers will see the Cowboys later on this year, but that one, if you're squeamish, I'm sure anyone's seen it by now has already watched it. But that one, if you're weak if you have a weak stomach, do not watch that one.
Right. You got to feel for that. I mean, I know it's the Cowboys, blah blah. Look, I hate to, I'm an NFL fan first. A Steelers fan.
I'm a big
NFL
fan.
And I think Dak's a good kid as well too. You just hate to see stuff like that happen to guys, any guy like that. And I mean, they paid him a lot of money, and out he goes. And look, I mean, we'll see what Andy Dalton can do now for him. They'll look a lot smarter if they're able to ride Andy Dalton through the rest of this thing.
The good news is, like, they're probably still one of the favorites of the East because no one's winning in the NFC East. I think who is the favorite of the East? Is it the Eagles? I think Philly might have the advantage right now.
Because of that defense, probably.
Yeah, and just they have a quarterback, and so we'll see. Though Dallas defense has been terrible, but anyway, so that is your couple of big points for the NFL day. If you want to jump to some reader emails, feel free.
All right, let's get it. Jonathan Mason writes in, Mika, we have a problem. Alex and Dave, I really don't want to be negative after a 4-0 start, but with the Browns, Titans, and Ravens up next, this secondary worries me. It looks like Mika is lost at times, like the Fulgham TD yesterday, let alone the missed tackles and no stats, but negative ones to show for it. Is it the way he's being used, or is he simply playing terrible? He's just not playing well right now. He's not in position to make plays. One of the most concerning things was that kind of shoulder tackle that he tried to do yesterday. I thought was one of the most concerning things with him. And then the other time, what was it against Denver? The horse collar penalty on him. So he's not playing smart football right now.
No, there has certainly been some regression there. And again, his tackling, it's not been terrible, but it's not been where it probably needs to be or could be as well. And so I'm just I'll have to do maybe a deeper film study into that because I can't pinpoint exactly what the issue is, but it's certainly not the Mika that we saw last season.
Not showing up in the stat column is the biggest thing, but, he didn't show up in the stat column the final 6 or 7 games last season, right?
Right, yeah, this drought's been going on since the back half of last year.
I'm not ready to throw the Minka baby out with the bathwater just yet, but it's a little concerning that we've gone this dating back to last season, this kind of stretch without him making some sort of noticeable plays,
Right, yeah, I just can't see a guy who was so electric last season. I can't chalk it up to just being a fluky thing, a chance thing. That is just talent that most guys don't have, and I'd like to think he'll return to that. So I'm not panicking, but there's certainly some worry, and it's like, when is this thing going to kind of turn around for the better?
Rush and coverage got to go hand in hand sometimes. We're getting some rush going, but not some coverage going with it all the time. So,
all right. Well, I mean, they lead league in sacks. I mean, there's a lot of pressure.
But they're not going hand in hand. They're not complementing each other the way you would think they're kind of or did at times last season.
Sure. No, agreed. That was the issue for everything before last year's Steelers defense, where they still had a lot of sacks, 2018, 2017, 50-plus, but they just could not convert that into takeaways. And the good thing, again, is that they're still taking the football overall in aggregate numbers, but it's not to the same level we saw last year.
We'll dive deeper into the All-22 when it comes out later today. I'm sure we're going to be answering questions about this for the entire week about defense and Bush. And, well, here we go. Look, Bush and Fitzpatrick from Charles Munger writes in, is there concern that Devin Bush is just a great athlete at inside linebacker but doesn't create many splash plays? I know he didn't have many at Michigan either. Also, I think Keith Butler needs to start utilizing Fitzpatrick in different ways so the other teams can't just avoid him. It's not so much the teams are really avoiding him as much. I don't think at this point right now. They're just not getting in position to make plays right now. Something we've said time and time again. Look, I'm less worried about Devin Bush on that defense than I am about some of those members of the secondary right now. Look, Alex and I had a long discussion pre-draft about Devin Bush and making play. Devin Bush is not that guy that's going to penetrate and make the plays behind the line of scrimmage. Where Devin Bush gives you the most bang for your buck is sideline to sideline. All right, he hasn't had to do a lot of that right now, right? So that in coverage, which obviously didn't have a good game against Noah a couple of games ago. The red lights or the shining bright lights, not on, in my opinion, on Devin Bush right now. You're playing behind a very good defensive line. You have Vince Williams really plays downhill really well, making some of these plays in the backfield before anybody else can on top of it. So I'm not concerned about Devin Bush yet. More so about just Fitzpatrick and the lack of plays, obviously, since the middle of last season.
Yeah, I think that's fair on both points. So well said.
Quito Florine writes in Fulgham versus Ertz. Let's see. Yesterday I didn't see much of the game as I currently reside in Washington football team country, and I had to work during the game after seeing the highlights and browsing the box score. I noticed that Ertz only had one catch. Was there anything noticeable in the TV tape that shows the Steelers went into the game to take Ertz away and make someone else beat them, or was it just clear case of Fulgham just beating the Steelers DBs at will? I think it's more of the second point. I didn't really see anything that stuck out noticeably with Ertz and get bracketed or those kind of things.
Yeah, the Eagles like to put the tight end backside 3-by-1, and the Steelers don't usually have their corners travel to the slot. So there were a lot of times where you had Nelson or a corner on Ertz, and so there was Nelson had it was an incompletion thrown to Ertz's way on third down with Nelson covering I think early in that game. So you had some situations where you had corners that maybe times where other teams might put a linebacker, which would be a better matchup for the Eagles. So I don't know if there's anything mystical about it. I'll have to check the tape, but yeah, that was big. It was just disappointing that he take. I mean,
really, look, there's nothing to this point really from the all 22 that jumps out at us that says schematically the problems. What's happening here? Period.
Right. In terms of what?
Just over, there's nothing jumping out on tape through the first 4 games schematically that screams, blame it on to DC or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I don't see that right now.
You're not having players make plays, period.
Right. Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
Getting contesting points, kind of situations where, look, I mean, interceptions either a lot of times they're extremely bad decisions by quarterbacks, sailing one or something like that. I mean, we saw desperation. We saw that late in the game yesterday by Wentz. You also saw some turnovers off miscommunications and a player getting knocked off his route, which was the second or the first interception yesterday that Nelson had. Generally, the other times when that happens is either a player making a tremendous read or break on the football. We haven't seen that, right? Or some of these contested up ball in the air. Now Hayden did have one against. Well, that wasn't even a contested catch. That was just a ball off the hands of who was the wide receiver?
Denver, Cortland Sutton, right?
Right, just a ball off the hands there. So I think the most disturbing thing that I've seen, now we haven't watched the all 22 yet of this game against the Eagles defensively, not contesting enough on some of these plays.
Right, that's what I was getting at earlier. It's maybe the longer term thing that could be sustainable, and I hope it's not. But they'll get a good test against Cleveland. You got Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., and you better be ready to play against those guys.
Let's see, we got JJ from Lexington. Hey guys, so happy to be 4-0, but can't wait to hear your guys break down the defense when you get the all 22. It's hard to tell what's going on seeing the TV version, but looked like the Fulgham kid couldn't be guarded. Yeah, pretty accurate. Now for the most important question of the day. When Tomlin ended his press conference with the word minutia in the last sentence, did Dave have to take a cold shower after hearing it? I know you love. I know how you love your new word. Yeah, I found that stuck out to me as well too, JJ. Look, we'll get a little bit more into this when we get to all 22 later on today. Bryce writes in, look, I know fans can harp on coaching, but how in the world can Doug Peterson justify going for the field goal in that situation at Heinz Field with your offense moving the football? That's just an awful decision in my opinion. What was it? 4th and 6? What was it? You remember, Alex?
That sounds about right. It was a 56-yarder? How far out was that kick?
Let's see here.
It was, at Heinz Field, though. It would have been, I think, a record had Jake Elliott made that one. They were down 2, weren't they? I'm trying to piece together the situation here.
57-yard field goal on a 4th and 5 from the Steelers' 39.
Right, and they were down 2, 31-29. So, I mean, I don't know what they were getting pregame, if he was hitting it, what their range was. I'm sure that is very much on the edge of things. I wouldn't have hated the call, though, if you can connect it. I mean, I know it wasn't at Heinz Field, but that Pitt kicker, it went 58 and hit that one. So, and then missed the extra point, which we'll not talk about that. But, yeah, it's obviously controversial, and in hindsight, it looks like a bad call. But I kind of agreed with the decision for Peterson to try it.
I mean, 3-something, kicking that and going up by 1, you're leaving a lot of time for an offense that was able to move the football. Right. You know, I see the point here. I understand why I understand why the decision is being called into question.
Certainly, absolutely.
Number 2, one thing that seems to me that we're not doing enough is pressing wide receivers at the line of scrimmage and not letting them get clean releases into their routes. Do you see this as well? Do you believe they were doing more to jam the wide receivers at the line? Look, I mean, you can't play cover one man all the time, you know?
But there were times where somebody just had to get in the Fulgham's face just to disrupt the timing of the route. Now, I don't know how much more they're playing press compared to last year, more or less, but they had to do something, and they really didn't have an answer to try to stop Fulgham.
Right. We'll get a better. You haven't charted yet, right?
I'm most of the way through, but obviously I want to see the all 22 first.
Kudos to Matt Canada. From the moment he was hired, I wrote into the show and immediately said he would have an impact on this offseason. I believe we wrote about it as well, too. You don't hire a guy like that with a style play design unless you plan on implementing some of the things he does into your offense. What player would you say so far has been mostly impacted by the hiring of Canada? What player has been mostly impacted by the hiring of Canada?
I don't know if there's one singular guy. I mean, the whole offense feels like it's had to evolve some, so I think it's kind of affected everybody equally, to be honest with you. I don't know if it comes down to one name. Vance McDonald's certainly thriving with some of the concepts they're running, and a big year for him, so maybe him, but I don't know if it's one particular guy. It is more just of a schematic thing where everybody's kind of evolving and adapting to it.
Yeah, I can't for the life of me go one player where, obviously,
I mean, Ray, obviously.
Yeah, Ray in one game,
Yeah.
If you will there. Look, I mean, you can see this coming. Just, I think Alex was one of the first to write about it, about the motion principles and all about Canada not long after he's hired. Look, here's the thing. You got to build off of it now. All of this, what you would like to see, the byproducts that we talked about earlier in the show here, is the fact that you want to see more successful play percentages off of it now. All right. As a whole, the successful play rates need to be higher when using it. End of story.
Yeah. No, that's a good target stat to look towards.
I mean, it felt a lot better yesterday because of the James Conner run and a couple of touchdowns happening on those plays as well, too. Let's see here if we got any more here. I think we're running to the bottom of the barrel here. Not too vocal of a group, I don't think. No, wait. Deshaun Campbell writes in, man, as I continue to watch, all I can say is Joe Hayden is out his prime and probably done in Pittsburgh after this. Also, do you guys think Edmonds should get benched for Davis, even though I know he's not great either? I just need anything better than him. I thought Edmonds was one of the better players in the secondary yesterday overall. Look, Joe Hayden's not going to get benched. Edmonds is not going to get benched. So I'm not even going to entertain discussion on either of that. I think the question is what happens after Joe Hayden after this season. And I think that where we sit right now, that's a reasonable question.
It's certainly more open of a question than benching Hayden or benching Edmonds. Edmonds will not get benched. I don't think he deserves to get benched right now. Metrically, if you look at that, I mean, PFF still ranks Hayden as one of the top cover corners. I don't know how that's going to be affected coming out of the Eagles game. I'm sure it will be to some extent, but I just don't like to make those thoughts. Yeah, those rash decisions on 4 games. Let's just see the whole season play out. These decisions do not need to be made until after the season, so I'll just take my time and evaluate the rest of the way.
Someone tweeted me yesterday, said, it's time for Justin Lane. No, it's not time for Justin Lane.
Not time for Justin Lane.
not yet. Sorry, folks.
Justin Lane, go cover Odell.
Go
cover Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, look, and I said this before the game last week as well, too. In this one game off the books now, I said, let's wait and see what happens after this Eagles and Browns game here. Let's add one more game on top of that, the one after that. I still have a feeling this defense at the halfway mark will probably have a lot better taste in our mouths than we do right now. The level of concern has been heightened the last few games, but I'm not ready just sweeping changes on the defense, no.
And again, offenses are scoring at record paces. I know we focus on the Steelers and get frustrated by the Steelers because we're watching them individually. But if you look at the stats, compare that to league-wide, Steelers are still in a good place in a lot of respects. Part of that, yes, is because they've had an easier schedule. As we said, these upcoming games will be a better gauge for the offense or for the Steelers defense. But I do just want to keep that perspective in mind that offenses are scoring at will, and it is hard to play defense in today's NFL. Not to excuse it, but I just want to throw that out there.
The other team's paid to play, too, and make plays. And, you don't think a guy named Travis Fulgham's going to be that guy to do it. That's obviously concerning. But, would it make it any more better if it was a guy like Alshon Jeffrey doing it against you,
Right. That's a very good point.
All right. I think we got it there. Alex, anything to add as we kind of wrap this thing up? Any kind of breaking news around the league or anything here? The Titans had no new positives from Sunday's round of COVID-19, so they were off to a good start this morning. Be interesting. Boy, the NFL really rearranged that schedule yesterday,
Yeah, they are doing literally everything possible to not have to go to a Week 18. I mean, their plan is just to literally do everything they can to avoid it. 8 games got rearranged? They're playing Tuesday games. They got a Monday game coming up here at like 4:30. Whatever they got to do to get through the year, I guess.
Ben's playing some real good football right now. I know it's dink and dunk and not being able to hit the deep ball, but he really seems comfortable right now. This was the 4th game in a row that Ben has thrown 2 or more touchdown passes in and had a quarterback rating of 95 or higher in. Only once during his career, 2007, I believe, was the only time he had a 4-game span like that.
Yeah, he's up to a 70% completion percentage. That would be, I think, a career high if it holds.
Which is a byproduct of dink and dunk. Let's not kid ourselves.
Sure, but 70%, I mean, I don't care, man. 70% is 70%. 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. Dude's only been sacked 6 times in 4 games. I mean, these are excellent. If you told me these numbers were going to be the numbers after the first month of the year, sign me up in a heartbeat.
You start popping a couple of deep passes, man. You talk about really opening this thing up, You come out and open a game up with a couple of deep ball home runs. You want to change the complexion of how a defense treats you at that point. That's the only thing that he needs to do right now. You need to get that completed air yard distance up closer to the intended air yard distance, and it wouldn't hurt to have his intended air yard distance climb by about a yard. there. So that's kind of thing the things that we're looking for here. And also you need to get the next streak that needs to be broken is that opening possession touchdown streak.
For sure. Yeah. Well said.
All right. With that, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex Kozora. Boy, kudos to you and the guys yesterday, Alex. Man, just bang up job all the guys did. We just got tons of content on the site already on this Monday morning here. That'll obviously continue through the rest of the week. Follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and you want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you'd like an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, for $25 you can get one by going to SteelersDepot.com, hitting the ad-free button up right navigational bar. And I think with that, as always, and tell them what we do tonight, Monday night.
Yeah, we'll have our Monday night live stream over on YouTube. You can find it on my YouTube channel. Alex Kozora is the name. Dave and I will join Steelers Nation for an hour to answer everything and anything on your guys' mind. It will be archived as well, so if you miss it, you can circle back to it. But hope you can join us again, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time over on YouTube.
I have tormented the listeners enough. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.